That's my view, sir.
Thank you very much. So, can we meet you, sir?
Yes, thank you, my brother. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. T. Williams. I hold a PhD in accounting. I also have an MSc in accounting and finance. I also have an MSc in economics. I also hold an MBA with a specialization in finance. And presently, I'm also undergoing a PhD in economics. I am a chartered accountant, a chartered tax practitioner. I sit presently as the managing partner of T. Williams Firms, comprising of T. Williams Professional Services, Certified Accountants, T. Williams Consulting Chartered Tax Practitioners, T. Williams and Associates, which is like a management consulting firm. And recently, we now have T. Williams Trainings Limited. Our office is in Abuja. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for the introduction. And I think that is really captivating. You are welcome to Accounting Beyond Figures.
Thank
And
you, sir.
this afternoon, we are presenting the episode Beyond the Ledger. We know that accountants are familiar with ledgers, so we can't discuss anything as far as accounting is concerned without talking about the primary books, which is the ledger. But we are looking beyond that, and that is why we brought you on board this afternoon to do justice to this particular episode. Now, Doctor, when people hear about accounting, they often think about numbers and bookkeeping, because that has been the primary focus. In fact, it's always difficult to even differentiate between a bookkeeper and accountant because people just believe, yes, it's just to keep the book and then to keep record and then to account for the money. So, you know, got it from sales and other revenue sources. But to you, in your own field, what does accounting truly represent in today's business environment?
Accounting actually is said to be a language of business. Why do we say language of business? Accounting is described as a language of business because it provides a structure and universally accepted system for recording, summarizing, and communicating financial information. Just as language allows individuals to express ideas and mention, accounting enables businesses to translate complex economic activities into standardized financial statements that others can understand. Now, for instance, it helps in different ways. Rules and standards. That is grammar. Accounting has its own rules and standards. You hear about IFRS, International Financial Reporting Standard. You hear about GAAP, and then you hear about others, which ensures consistency in how financial information is prepared and presented. You also have some terminologies in accounting, which are vocabulary. You now hear about concepts such as assets, you hear about liabilities, you hear about equity, you hear about revenue, you hear about expenses. These are terminologies that are also in accounting, day-to-day language. And so, for instance, they say, please, how can I evaluate my fixed asset? Now it's PP and E. How do I evaluate my operating expenses? So these are terminologies also in accounting. And also there are some syntax also in accounting. And the syntax are like financial statements. You can talk about income statements. You can talk about balance sheets. You can talk about cash flow. And then you can also talk about other organized information logically in accounting. So basically, you have this in accounting language in a business on daily basis.
Okay. Thank you very much. You've described accounting as a language of business,
Business, yes, sir.
right? What makes it to be a comparable language. Because if you say language of business, it means you may have people from different, backgrounds,
Yes.
diverse orientation, and
Yes.
yet they are coming together to speak the
Same
same
language.
language.
Yes.
So when it comes to business,
Yes.
so what is the how do you just suppose this comparison among these different set of individuals for it to be
So invariably, you are also trying to link about the stakeholders. Stakeholders. And who are these stakeholders? How do they understand this language of business? And why should they want to be interested in the language of business? I'm talking about stakeholders. How do these stakeholders juxtapose this business language? For what reason? For what purpose? Now, we are now basically talking about a structure where people have to make day-to-day decisions. And then in the business setup, you also have what we call investors and shareholders. Basically, they are not accountants, but they are becoming conversant with this language. Why? So they can make decisions, an informed decision. We're not talking about investors and shareholders. We are not talking about people who we wish to assess the profits or the performance of an organization to enable them invest their hard-earned money and get returns. They also need to understand the language for decision making. We can also talk about managers in business setup. They're also interested in this language. Why are they interested? They're interested because of sheer common interest. Also to make decision on the growth, day-to-day growth and management in terms of planning, in terms of budgeting, in terms of reporting decision, in terms of indices. You can also talk about regulators who might not necessarily be accountants. You can talk about Corporate Affairs Commission, which is also one of the regulators that regulates business transactions. They also want to know this language, and so that they will know whether the organizations or the environment is also adapting to regulatory indices. You could also have like tax. Are they paying taxes? Are they keeping to the laws? What about their financial reporting? Does it meet the standard? You can also have citizens, you can call them CSO, who are also interested in knowing this language. So to evaluate the effects of this on the citizenry, people that are working there. How are they faring? Are they keeping to it? So basically, we call them stakeholders. And also permit me to really say that even the employees themselves, some I remember when we had a training at Federal Ministry of Finance, some told me that they are HR, some say they are lawyers, they are not accountants. We should reduce this into language that they can understand for decision making. By the time they go back to their offices, they could take decisions. And some of these stakeholders put together are interested in this language for decision making, basically. So, in conclusion, therefore, because accounting information is a standardized and verifiable, it reduces misunderstanding and ensures that all stakeholders base their decision on objectivity, comparable data, rather than assumption and speculations.
now beyond financial reporting, which is like the end result
Yes.
of the accounting process. So, what deeper roles does accounting play in organizational success? Because before now, in fact, the an average accountant is seen to be a man that is stop, at the entrance of the boardroom. But now, at least, most accountants are part of the decision making. So now, beyond just this reporting that the management will require
Yes.
from the accountant,
Yes.
what are the other roles accounting play in the organization's success?
We have a traditional role, just like you mentioned. Traditionally, accountant was expected to prepare financial statements and just make presentation. That is the traditional role of an accountant. But today's business environment have transported accountant beyond that. And also, so beyond the traditional role of financial reporting, accounting plays several strategic and operational roles in ensuring organizational success. One, planning and forecasting. Accounting gives provide data for budgets and financial projections. You can also have about performance measurements. It also enables organizations to track efficiency, profitability, and productivity through performance indicators. And they also have control and accountability. You also have risk management, and then you also have strategic alignment. All this cannot be possible without an accountant. And therefore, in essence, accounting is not just record keeping tool, but a decision support system that derives efficiency, sustainability, and also ensure growth of organization. That's where accounting is going today. So if you have an accountant who sits in the board and cannot navigate the organization through this, then it will be most unfortunate. Because it's not just about presenting financial statements this time. The economy has changed.
Thank you very much, sir. You did mention of decision making when it comes to strategy,
Yes, sir.
which is a kind of a secondary role
Yes, sir.
of an accountant in an organization.
Yes, sir.
But does that mean business cannot develop without a strong accounting information?
No.
And why is it?
There are we have strata of businesses. Let me say strata in business. You have the highest, the middle, and the lowest. Accounting provides a qualitative foundation and strategic decision. Leaders rely on this information to evaluate options and choose the most correct one. Nobody will wish to invest his money into an area that cannot grant him returns on investment. And so, going back by your question, I would say yes, sir. Yes, sir, because if now you take decision with intuition, without objectivity, without relying on data, you are now bound to fail. And but once this information are handy, first, it helps you look at the cost analysis. How will I go into this business? What is the cost implication? How do I even get it? How can I navigate? Then what about return on my investment? And you're trying to also look at profitability analysis in terms of return on investment, in terms of business segment. You're also trying to look at financial forecast and budgeting. And so without accounting information, sir, executive will rely on intuition rather than evidence, increasing the likelihood of poor decision making. Accounting information therefore ensures strategic, data driven, realistic, and aligned with financial capacity. And so yes, very, very important. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now let's look at the types of accounting that we have,
Yes.
and let's focus on two major critical components, which is management accounting and financial accounting.
Yes, sir.
These two types of accounting, how do they, assist management in achieving the organization objective?
As I said now, accounting is a language of business, and everyone is learning today. An old woman who sits on the table will tell you that, let me write that you are owing me. And then invariably is talking about account receivables. Someone who has gone to the market to buy segmented goods that sells in a shop is telling somebody that, look, let me owe you. When I come next, I pay. He's talking about I can't pay those. Accounting has become language. Sometimes he comes back, he tell you that, look, we were not able to make sales enough to pay you up. Let me pay you back. It's all about revenue and sales. In accounting, we have different types of accounting, but we have financial and management. Financial accounting has to do with regulations, maintaining regulations, keeping to the ethics of the profession, and also producing financial statement for stakeholders for decision making. And so it encompasses broader objectives. But management accounting is basically an internal. It's looking at how to plan, how to cut costs, how to
That's
do ratio
by
analysis.
management, right?
Yes, by management for management decision. So whereas the financial accounting is looking at the stakeholders in the broader terms, management accounting is looking at in-house management decision making. That's what management accounting is all about. That's what financial accounting. So differences is that one, financial accounting has to do with the general regulations. Management accounting, sir, you may understand that it could be a standard set by the management to manage their costs, to plan, to entrench their businesses so that there are no variances or deviations. And at the end of the day, it aids the management in internal decision making.
So thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir.
There's one interesting aspect which I will want us to look at
Yes, sir.
moving forward.
Yes, sir.
When you are trying to educate us on management accounting,
Yes, sir.
look at the management in general,
Yes.
how they have to use certain data
Yes, sir.
in order to analyze and then take decision.
Yes.
So how does accounting literacy affect leadership effectiveness? Because from your statement, it means all these members of management,
Yes, sir.
they must be literate, financial wise,
Yes, sir.
accounting wise.
Yes.
So how does this literacy now, you know, improve or aid their leadership effectiveness?
Well, if uh, if we look at what happened about code of governance and sustainability and economic growth today, you will see that management are becoming very critical on whom to choose to be part of the management. Economic too is becoming very fragile. So they are looking at expertise, looking at experienced people to mount the board of governance or even be part of the management of any organization. And that is talking about experience. Now, accounting information is very essential in that regard. Account information head organization to allocate efficiently by providing qualitative tools and evaluating alternatives. And so even at that level, some that are not even accountants or they are not finance based, they are from a different sector, they add their expertise over the years. And by this, they are looking at areas that are of interest for decision making. Like if we pick the statement of financial position, which is old balance sheet. Everything you need to know is about them. Whether the growth, going concerns, or the company does not have a going concern, you can also have it there. You will pick about statement of comprehensive income, financial position, and other comprehensive income. You also see about the profitability. You're also looking at the, the dividend that ordinarily the management will also pay, or the
So
board will
the
also pay
shareholders.
to the shareholders. You're also looking at the returns in earnings. You're looking at all these indices. And so basically, with that, as I've said, this it becomes very difficult. But with this provision by the accountant in terms of data, in terms of indices, in terms of interpretation, it aids management even when they are not financially literate.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Looking at the level of information that is needed by the top management
Yes, sir.
now.
Yes, sir.
So I want to ask, to what extent
Yes,
do you think the chief executive of an organization, the public sector officers, and leaders will need this accounting knowledge, or does it mean for someone who is not fortunate to be educated,
yes.
then and he has the capacity to run a business, and
Yes.
then God help him, the business grows. So to what extent will such person need accounting knowledge?
Yes, that's a good question. Accounting is a key that unlock potentials in any business. As I've already said, without the knowledge, you work on intuition and you must have made errors in decision making. So CEO, whether in public organization or in private, need solid foundational understanding of accounting, though not necessarily technical expertise. For instance, now they need this to be able to interpret financial statements. How do I interpret this? And that tells you where the traditional role, I can relate that, of an accountant has changed. If you cannot interpret financial statements, and then it becomes useless. When you are making presentation, it becomes useless. So now they need to interpret the financial statement, the knowledge to interpret the financial statement. They also need to understand key financial indicators, profitability ratio, asset test ratio, this and that and that and that. So they also understand key financial indicators. That take you down to financial management. They also need to ask informed questions about financial performances. In the financial statement, we have seen it. What about this? What about this? What about this? So this level of knowledge is very essential for effective governance, strategic decision making, and also accountability, especially in an environment where financial mismanagement can have serious consequences. That's my view, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Williams, for contributing immensely to this session, this episode of Beyond the Ledger, and the accounting beyond figures.
Yes, sir.
Really appreciative of your contribution, and we're proud for what you've been able to enlighten us this afternoon, because you've given us a brighter horizon of what we might not even think about or think of before. But now we know it better, and I want to believe the public that will be able to hear this episode will have one or two things to pick from it, and then it will be beneficial to both the accountant as well as other stakeholders in the society. So thank you, and
Thank you,
God
sir.
bless you. We hope to have you some other time for another session.
It's my pleasure.